I am speaking with the Queen of Capital, Holly Lynn, on the Guy Dawson Show at the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.com. We've been touching on a lot of things over the course of this interview. So, Holly, let's talk about the bling now. Right, we know you're the Queen of Capital, and let's talk about some of the fruits of your labor, of your focus on money and helping people and creating income for others, being a giver. What are some of the fruits that you've received as a result of being a great connector and a money maker for people?
Awesome. So there's been many. Many people are aware of my car. I drive a Maserati, and that's my main car. It's actually my everyday car. I don't suggest that, by the way. I don't suggest having a luxury vehicle for your everyday car.
No?
No. But, however, it is... I highly recommend them. No, by the way, they're not endorsing me. They do not endorse me, however. Maserati is a car I would do again. I think about it too. I'm like, which one do I want?
Don't see too many of those.
You do, actually, where I'm from.
I guess, you live up in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and there's lot of very wealthy people there.
But believe it or not, my whole, even my fruits, my bling, my everything is still structured in to finances. And what I mean by that is, take for instance, the reason I choose multifamily and say apartment buildings, investing and raising capital for the apartment buildings, is because when you actually run the numbers on owning a home, a single family residence, if there is no cash flow, if you're not renting anything out, which is really, really good. They have Airbnb and so many other things. But if you're not making any income, it's still considered a debt.
Right. That's such a misconception that people have, is that your home is an asset, and it's not bringing you back any money, right? So how can it truly be?
What I would prefer, if I were going to go that route, I would do something that is at least 2 units. At least a duplex. I'm actually looking at a couple things myself, as far as my structure and what the next move I'm going to be making and stuff. But having a single family residence, unless you are renting out rooms or renting out storage, or, have a casita that you rent out or something like that, cash flow, unless there's cash flow on it, you're actually really not making anything. And people make the choice to actually purchase upon the value of it and say, okay, they'll get equity, and equity is never a guarantee. And so it's about the cash flow.
And we were talking when we were off air a couple of minutes ago about how you really don't like to spend a lot of money, and that's one of the big misconceptions that people have, is they think of the wealthy and they think of them as spending all of this money, and that hasn't been. I know some very wealthy people, and that is not my experience at all.
No,
they are the smartest people with their money, and you were saying that you're always looking for a return on investment whenever you spend money on anything, so you are far from a free spender.
Yeah, there's 2 things that I want to actually talk about with that are, when I look at anything, when I look at a dime going out, my mindset is, what am I getting for this? What's the return? And I'm only talking about finances, and so it's not like I get an emotionally return on that blouse. So I have a very hard time with shopping. And in purchasing things, which is the whole reason for the cash flow. So I kind of ease up on that, and got to check in and realize, hey, it's good to treat yourself. That's why I got the car, because it's something that had to be done. You when you're out there and you're living that abundant life, it is very, very rewarding to check in and make sure that you treat yourself. But as far as my every time I go to turn around and spend a dime on anything, in my mind, I have hardwired myself to look at it like, okay, so where am I? How am I making 10% off of this dime? Very much so. Now, that is going to be the difference between a spender and an investor's mind frame, which is the where people need to cross over. If you really want to have, the abundance, that's something that needs to happen, because the majority of people, it's a spender's world, spender's mentality. That's how we're all programmed. I was one of them.
A world of consumption, and there are many vehicles within our society that fuel that. As a marketing person, I understand.
Right.
You have a better understanding of the programming that is constantly being done to all of us through so many avenues, billboards, radio, television, to be
Everything
a consumption-oriented person
spend.
rather than an investor.
Absolutely. Everything is. And what I really want people to know more than anything is that I know that many of you have the belief system of, they cannot do it, or, they don't have what it takes. They don't... like whatever your belief system is, what I want you to know is that my belief system is everybody is actually meant to have this. Like, everybody's meant to have a fruitful life. You were not put here to be average. There's just average shouldn't exist, but be willing to take the steps.
Yes, and so step number one is take an honest look at yourself. That's what you've been saying kind of throughout the interview, is that the first thing is you have to be aware of where you are right now, and then start to take the actual steps, little ones, probably baby ones for a lot of people, towards working towards the abundance that you deserve. Because I agree with you. I just think that human beings we're wired for success.
Oh, it's not an overnight process. It's definitely not. It's not. It takes some work, but that's the thing. If you're willing to get uncomfortable and take a look, just like, some of you are out there doing the inner work, that's pretty much, what it is. And if you're out there already having a head start and doing the inner work and getting uncomfortable and, working on your relationships, working on, things with your kids, working on all this kind of stuff, you might as well just add this to it, because, this is another part of the section that you're working towards. The guidance of how to is what I find is the most helpful. If you don't know where exactly to hone in on that, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to just give a little bits and pieces, and support with that kind of structuring, because that is a huge part of what my purpose on the planet is knowing how to do things like this. And it has been told to me by many mentors, and I haven't had many coaches, but but I do have a great coach, and for people that have supported me, realize that it is actually more effortless for me to create cash flow. It has been brought to my attention that it's my duty to help others, and I absolutely believe that.
Well, it has been a pleasure to have a woman of money on the show today. The Queen of Capital, Holly Lynn, has been our guest, and I know you and I were going to hang out again.
Yes.
Thank all of you for tuning into this week's edition of The Guy Dawson Show, and we can't wait to see you next week. Take care of yourselves.